There is the fairing at the top of the vehicle, that pointed enclosure there. And once we reach the vacuum of space, we will deploy the fairing as the second stage continues on its way to its final orbit. As for weather, we had some rough weather over the weekend, but so far today, weather is looking good for an on-time launch. We will continue to monitor this all the way down to T-0. The Air Force range is prepared to support today's mission. So with that, the vehicle, satellites, weather, and range are all looking good for an on-time liftoff just a few minutes from now.
As I mentioned at the top of the webcast, today's launch will be the fourth flight of this particular Falcon 9 booster. This booster previously flew on a Dragon resupply mission, CRS-17, which flew to the space station in May of 2019, followed by CRS-18 in July 2019, and most recently a commercial satellite launch on December 17, 2019. It's been just under 8 weeks since that booster returned, which makes this our fastest turnaround to date. Long term, we hope to continue to drive that turnaround time down even further, with rocket launches looking more similar to commercial air travel, where the planes get basic checkouts, they get refueled, and then they head right back out. SpaceX successfully landed its first booster back in December 2015 after a long series of attempts with various endings, some more spectacular than others. And if we land today's booster, it will mark our 50th successful landing. It's really crazy to think just how much has changed in only 5 years. Our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, is currently stationed 350 miles off the coast of Florida, waiting for what will be the fourth landing of this booster. Just as we had to work through a lot of trial and error with booster recovery, we're now engaging in that same process for fairing recovery. To date, we have caught 3 fairing halves with our recovery vessels and fished a number of others out of the water, and we'll continue pushing forward with this effort with the goal of hopefully making this as routine as our rocket landings.
We are currently just over 4 minutes from liftoff. Falcon 9 is now moving into the final stages of the countdown. At T-7 minutes, engine chill began. This is where we allow a small amount of the super chilled liquid oxygen to flow into the Merlin engine turbo pumps prior to the full flow of liquid oxygen into the vehicle, and that's to avoid any shocks to the system. Liquid oxygen is also what's creating those white clouds around Falcon 9, as you can see on your screen. We continue to load super chilled liquid oxygen, or LOX, into the stage until just before liftoff. And when that super chilled LOX comes in contact with the ambient air around it, it creates those clouds surrounding the vehicle that you can see right there. At T-3.5 minutes, the transporter erector has already moved away from the rocket slightly, and this allows some clearance for Falcon 9 to lift off of our launch pad. The first and second stages are both nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. First stage should finish prop loading at T-3 minutes, and second stage at T-2 minutes. At T-60 seconds, be sure to listen in for the call out that Falcon 9 is in startup. This means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. The Starlink payload continues to be healthy. The Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. Weather is looking good, and the range is green for launch. So let's listen into the last few minutes of the countdown.
Stage 2 LOX goes down. Falcon 9 startup.
LD is go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Falcon 9's pitching down range. Stage 1 propulsion nominal. Power and telemetry nominal.
It is T plus 47 seconds, and we have just had liftoff of our Falcon 9 vehicle, taking our Starlink payload to its targeted orbit. In about 15 seconds or so, we will be passing through max Q. Max Q is the maximum aerodynamic pressure that the vehicle will see throughout its
Falcon 9
ascent.
supersonic.
You should hear that call out in about 5 seconds or so.
Falcon 9 is experiencing maximum aerodynamic pressure.
And there's that call out for max Q. Coming up next in about a minute will be 3 events happening in rapid succession. The first of which will be MECO, or main engine cutoff, followed immediately by stage separation, and this is where the first stage separates from the second stage, and then followed by SES-1, or second engine start 1.
MVAC engine chill.
And you can see on your screen, this is a nice live view looking aft on the vehicle, so you can see those Merlin engines burning real bright right now with Earth in the background. And we're just about 30 seconds away. If you're just now joining us, the next 3 events coming up will be MECO, or main engine cutoff, stage separation, and SES-1, second engine start 1. And as we mentioned, today we will only be having 1 burn of the second stage.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
And there we've just had MECO,
Acquisition
main engine
Bermuda.
cutoff, and stage separation,
And ignition.
and second engine start 1 on your right screen. That engine is starting up and should be turning bright red shortly here. There it is. Now coming up in about 5 seconds, we will have fairing deploy. Should also be able to see this on your screen.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And there is fairing deploy. Now both fairing halves are making their way back to Earth. Let's hope that we can catch both of them today on
Stage 2 is
Mystery and
nominal
Mischief.
trajectory.
Okay, stage 2 continues to burn nominally with those 60 Starlink satellites up on top, while stage 1 begins its descent down to the drone ship. So coming up very soon, we're going to have a few events on stage 1. The first is the entry burn. That's coming at about T plus 6 minutes and 48 seconds or so. That's where 3 of the M1D engines are going to reignite. And what they do is they slow the first stage down as it re-enters the upper part of the Earth's atmosphere. That burn's going to go for about 20 seconds until you hear the call out, stage 1 entry burn end. About a minute and a half after the conclusion of that entry burn will be the landing burn. Now that's where we reignite the center E9 engine on the bottom of Falcon 9 on that first stage. And what that does is then it slows the vehicle down to 0 velocity as those landing legs are deploying and hopefully placing this stage on the drone ship for the 4th time and hopefully marking the 50th successful landing of a Falcon 9 booster. Stage 2 trajectory continues to be nominal. We're hearing that MVAC power is good, and everything is looking really awesome. Stage 2 is burning with more than 210,000 pounds of thrust. And the 60 satellites that are on top of that second stage are going to join the previous batches of Starlink satellites already in orbit, further filling in our constellation, which gets us another step closer to providing high-speed, low-latency internet access to people on that beautiful blue planet right there, targeting places where broadband connectivity options like fiber are too expensive or unreliable or even sometimes completely unavailable. We're about 15 seconds away from that entry burn. Hopefully we'll see that plume on the left side of the screen there.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
Stage 1 entry burn has started.
And as you can see, that entry burn has begun.
Fairing vessels have AOS.
We lost the downlink there just for a second, but hopefully we'll get it right back soon.
And stage 1 entry burn is shut down.
All right, and as you just heard, that entry burn has concluded, and I'm also hearing that it was a pretty good one. So coming up
First
next,
stage LOS expected.
Coming up next for stage 1, in just under a minute, is going to be the start of the landing burn. This will be, if successful, the 50th successful landing of a booster, of a Falcon booster, not necessarily a Falcon 9. We've landed boosters for Falcon Heavy as well, and this counts as one of those. Okay, we're a little over 10 seconds away from that landing burn start. Meanwhile, stage 2 continues
Stage
to
2 is
perform
after
normally.
terminal guidance.
Stage 1 landing burn has started.
All right, let's see what we can see here on the left side of the screen. It's a beautiful day out there.
Landing legs have deployed.
impact shutdown.
Okay, we were
Stage 2
expecting
FTS is saved.
we were expecting the call out for landing, and we obviously didn't see it there on the drone ship. So let's look back at stage 2.
Newfoundland AOS.
And we clearly did not make the landing this time. However, stage 2, we have confirmed SECO, which is second engine cutoff. Let's listen for the call out of the orbit.
Cape LOS expected.
And we have a good
Nominal orbital
orbit.
insertion of stage 2.
All right, now stage 2 is going to coast in this orbit for a few minutes, and during this time, it'll start to spin along its central axis, which gives the Starlink satellites the momentum that they need to space themselves out over time after they deploy. So we're going to take a really quick break here and then return at T plus 13 minutes and 45 seconds.